and welcome to my channel. Today I'm back with another makeup video and we're going to do a full face of nothing new summer edition. So all of these products are very much summer inspired, and even though the weather goes up and down here in the Netherlands and it's not always that summery even though it should be, I'm going to change the mood and do a summer makeup look. So if that sounds interesting to you, then please continue watching. And also, if you're new here, hello, thank you for clicking on my video. My name is Cecile, I am 29 years old, I live in the Netherlands like I said, and I upload a couple of videos a week with makeup and fashion related content. So if that sounds interesting to you, then please consider subscribing. And now let's get into these products. So I'm going to put on my ears again, because I feel like we haven't seen them in a little while. So I'll zoom you guys in just a little bit, and if I'm not mistaken, all of the products I'm going to use today are still available, but they're all considered old. They're all favorites of mine from at least a couple of months old and maybe even a year ago. So for the eyeshadow, I want to use my Viseart Soleil La Plage palette. This didn't really get a lot of hype last year, I didn't think. But it's a beautiful summery palette. I'm of course going to use this beautiful blue shade over here. You're not able to see this, but I'm actually wearing... Oh. You're not able to see this, but I'm actually wearing my turquoise leggings today. And I always like to combine my makeup or base my makeup around my outfit. So I'm going to use the beautiful blue shade. I did do a full review of this palette last year with at least one look and swatches and everything. I'll try and remember to link it down below. So yeah, that's what we're going to use, and this palette is still available. For eyeshadow primer, I'm going to use my Essence I Love Color Intensifying eyeshadow base. This is my favorite eyeshadow primer for when I'm not doing an intense makeup look. Alright, let's get into this lovely palette now. I think I just want to start building up. I think I'm going to go for a little bit of a elongated look, so I'm going to start with this matte shade over here, and I'm using this slightly angled blender brush. So I hope the weather is feeling a little bit nicer where you are. It's not bad here actually. It's 21 degrees today, so I'm not sure how much that is in Fahrenheit. I'll put it on the screen, but I mean, it's very doable, it's nice, but for some reason this year I'm really into the warmer weather. Last week we had 28 degrees at some point, and usually that would be way too hot for me, but this year I'm enjoying it. It might very well be because I'm living a lot more healthy this year. I'm exercising daily and I'm trying to eat less. So I guess my fitness is a lot better this year, so I enjoy a little bit of heat. However, in the Netherlands it's always up and down, even in August. It can very well be 18 degrees in August, which is not bad, but it's not like super summery. Anyway, I thought this makeup look could inspire the world to become more summery. That makes no sense at all. Just going to take away a little bit of my eyeshadow over here. I want to keep that shape that I put on this eye. I like that a little bit better. So Viseart has come out with these smaller versions of their famous palettes, like the editorial mattes and the neutral mattes and those palettes. I haven't picked any of them up. I haven't picked up a lot of makeup at all lately, but I'm curious if you have, and they are interesting. I'm picking up the deeper shade now, this deep brown matte, and I'm just intensifying that V shape a little bit. Alright. I'm going into the beautiful blue shade now. It's I'd say it's turquoise with sort of a goldy, I don't know, a goldy shine on top. It definitely has some, it's not duochrome, but it definitely has some shimmers of different shades. So I'm just going to use my finger and put this all over the lid. I used this palette quite a lot last year. I'm sure I've used it in multiple videos. I actually really like doing the Charlotte Tilbury look with Fizzy Art shadows. You can make a perfect look using only shimmers. But I felt like the shimmers in this palette especially, I own a couple now, but in this palette especially they're a little bit more shimmery. They're not just a satin. If you look closely, and especially in real life, you can definitely see some little sparkles, little hints of gold running through the shades. And I'm sure that in late summer evenings, in the golden hour, I'm sure these palettes will look, or these shadows will look really pretty then. So I'm taking up the blue pretty high, and I'm doing this very roughly. Because now I'm taking a clean finger and I'm going to go over the edges and also a little bit over the matte shades that we applied. So I'm going to do this, there's this blue haze over the other shadows now, and that's what I like. So this shade is really almost see-through. If I look like this, it's not that obvious, but when I do like this, you get a lot of shine and a lot of impact from it. So I think that's really pretty. So now I'm taking a small pencil brush and I'm going into this shimmery shade, which is a beautiful pale yellow. And I'm going to put that in my inner corner. And I like this as a gold for very fair skinned people. And I have seen it used on people with darker skin too, but for me it's hard to find a gold shade that isn't too dark. And I'd say this is more of a yellow than a gold, but it's perfect. I really like this shade anyway. So I'm just putting that in my inner corner, and now let me see. Let's put a hint of orange in the lower lash line. So there are two, there's this peachy shade and there's this actual orange, and I'm going to go for the orange, which is a beautiful orange shade with gold reflex. And I'm going to put that right here, connecting it to the yellow and to the brown. See? It's subtle, but in real life you can definitely see it, and once I've applied my base makeup, it'll show up a lot more. So I think this is it. This is the eyeshadow look. It's simple, but I think it's nice. And Fizzy Art shadows don't really give a lot of fallout. There's a little bit, but if you want to do your base makeup first, I think that's not a real problem. So I'm going to add a little bit of gold with my Chanel eyeliner. This is actually one of my more recent purchases, but still a couple of months old, so it fits the bill. I think this is the shade Or Antique, yes, number 48. Look, matches the eyeshadow perfectly. And then for mascara I'm going into a brown, because I feel like this is very intense, not intense, but it's very color blocking already, so I'm not going to add black to the mix. I'm just going to keep it neutral. And also this is just one of my favorite mascaras. I've been using it a lot. I also have a gold mascara that would be pretty to put on top, but I want to keep my lashes as dark as possible, but still brown. I feel like orange and blue and brown make a perfect combination, but if you add black to the mix, then it's just sort of washed out. See, it still gives the same effect as a black mascara would, but if you come a little bit closer, you see that the mascara matches the outer corner, which I like. So I zoomed you out a little bit because we're going into the face makeup now. And I honestly haven't really thought through what I want to use. I don't know, I'm kind of tempted to use my new Hydro Hero from Essence, but it's It's definitely my newest product, so I feel like I should branch out into something a little bit older. How about this? Let's use my favorite foundation of 2021, the Glowish Skin Tint. I'm almost done with this one, so let's see if we can make a little bit more progress. I'm not going to use a primer because my skin feels pretty nice. I did a face mask yesterday. If you follow me on Instagram, you've seen it on my stories. It was the shape of a tiger, but it's nice and hydrating. My skin still feels hydrated enough. And this one is very glowy, so I don't need any primer to make it more dewy. So I'm just taking about 3 pumps of this one. We'll see how far we get. I have this in the shade Fair, the lightest shade. And I feel like in summertime it's definitely appropriate to wear this type of glowy skin tint kind of product. But for a skin tint, this one actually has decent coverage. See, it covers this redness very easily. Of course I'm going to blend it out a little bit more, but... For a while there, I didn't really wear this skin tint anymore because I thought it was too glowy or a little bit too heavy maybe. But I'm realizing now that it was probably just because it was colder and it didn't really feel appropriate to be wearing so summery and glowy. So I'm sure I'll finish this up in no time, and then the big question is always, do I repurchase or not? We'll see. Maybe I'll purchase something else. So this is definitely a little bit deep for me if you compare it to my shade over here, but it's workable. I do think this actually looks a little bit better than a foundation that is way too pale. So I used a little bit less than I usually do, and it's giving less coverage, but I think it looks more natural this way, even though it's very glowy. And if you haven't been on my channel very long, I like this foundation so much because the glow that it gives is not an oily kind of glow. So it doesn't get super greasy and thick on your skin. It's a glow that is caused by these little pearls in the foundation. And a lot of people thought that was way too metallic, but I kind of like it. So I'm going to add some concealer and powder in the center of my face, and then it'll be beautiful. Speaking of concealer, what are we going to use? I've been using my Pat McGrath again a lot lately, but I want to branch out. I want to go for something that's in my project pan. This is the Stay Naked concealer from Urban Decay. I have it in the shade 20CP, which is a little bit too pink and a little bit too dark for me. So I mix it with this concealer from Makeup Revolution. It's the Conceal and Hydrate in white. So I'll start with the Urban Decay, which sort of matches my skin, but I want it a little bit more brightening. So I'm adding just a little bit of this. Maybe a little bit too much, I'm not sure. Then I'm taking this smaller foundation brush. I think the shade is perfect like this. I actually don't mind it being a little bit too pink. I feel like that looks nice and fresh. But I do like my concealer to be a little bit more brightening. I'm also spreading it a little bit on my nose and on my chin. And then I'm taking my original foundation brush to make sure the outer edges are blended. And then I'm taking my finger to blend out the inner edges. Alright, I think this looks nice. It definitely needs a little bit of powder. Now the powder that I've been using non-stop is the one from Essence. It's in my project pan, but I'll dig around for something a little bit older. How about we use my Gucci powder today? This is one of my favorite powders, but I don't really use it a lot because it's a little bit more pink. But I feel like that's not going to be an issue today. my foundation and my concealer are both a little bit more neutral or pink instead of my preferred yellow, so it'll go. So I like to use the little sponge that comes with the powder, and then I just patted out my under eye, and I'm just going to press this in. And then with whatever is remaining on my little poof, I just tap around the center of my face so the contrast isn't so stark. So now we have a matte under eye, a slightly more matte inside of the face, and then a very glowy outside of the face. I like the Essence powder more for this type of look because it doesn't mattify as much as this powder does. But this is a very good powder, so I can't be too mad. So we're moving into bronzer now, and I thought we could use this one. This is from Catrice. This is the Sun Glow Matte Bronzing Powder. Just because I haven't used it in a while and I want to see what it looks like. It's a little bit more red for a bronzer, but I think that's okay. So this is one pretty light layer. I'm just adding a little bit more right there, and of course on the other side. And because it's a summer look, I'm also adding it a little bit higher on my cheeks. This is where I usually apply my blush, but since, like I said, it's a summer look, I want to bring it up a little bit higher. And also a little bit more on my nose. So we get that slightly more sun-kissed look. And then I'm taking a large fluffy brush and I'm going over all the edges. Since I didn't powder my whole face, I feel like this is a very necessary step. For my eyebrows, I want to use something from my project pan again. This is from Clarins. It's a little eyebrow palette. There's this little brush that comes for the powder, and I'm going to use the lightest shade first. I'm just going to put some powder. This is what I used to use before, well, before I did a full face of makeup. This is one of the first things that led me into doing a full face of makeup, and it's actually pretty deep because this is the lightest shade and it's definitely deep enough for me. But I used all three shades. I'm not sure if this product is available, but I really wanted to use it again. And I mean, a simple brow powder is definitely still available from Anastasia Beverly Hills or something. And then there's this little spoolie with a little wax over here. I'm just taking a little bit of wax on the spoolie. I'm just going to run that through the brow hairs. Okay, this is definitely a little bit more tricky to use than my ABH, but it worked. It's a very thick wax, so you really have to put a lot in your eyebrows. At least in mine. Mine are pretty thick. So you have to really put in a lot and keep combing upwards. And then at some point your hair just stays upright. Alright, this is what it looks like. From up close, it looks a little bit heavy. From a little bit farther away, it still looks kind of heavy, but a little bit better, I think. I don't know, I don't hate it. It definitely looks very different than my ABH brow gel and the NYX Lift and Snatch. And I think it's already falling down a little bit. I'm not completely convinced that this is the stuff that I want to be using, but I gave it another shot. Alright, let's finish this makeup look off. So for blush, I think we should do something a little bit more neutral, a little bit more brown. I don't have a lot of those, but I do have this Cheek Stars Reunion Tour palette from Benefit. Now, I don't think they sell this palette anymore because I think it was released in 2020. But these are all existing shades in the Benefit line. You have Hula and Cookie as bronzer and highlight, and then these three blushes. And I feel like I could really go with Georgia very well. Or Dallas, maybe. This is Dallas, and this is Georgia. Shall we give Dallas a try? I'm not sure. I'm not even sure if I've used that one. I think this is giving the effect that I want. It kind of reminds me of the Chanel blush that was in the collection of fall 2021. I do have that one, but I don't think it's available, so I didn't want to use that. But this is a little bit warmer. So more of a summery blush. I'm just going to add a lot right here. A little bit on top of my nose. I'm really going all in with this vacation vibes look. Huh. It's not as matte as I thought it was going to be. Or the skin tint really is coming through, but either way, I'm kind of loving this. It looks nice. It's not a bronzer. It's definitely a little bit more peachy. And maybe a little bit more blushy. There's definitely a distinction between the bronzer and the blush, but I like it. And then for highlight, I'm just going to stay with the same palette and use Cookie. But I'm going to try and only use a little bit, because it is slightly icy and it's also very intense. Just a little bit on my cheekbones and on my nose. Now all we need is a lipstick, and I feel like we should go nude because I used orange and blue on the eyes, and I'm not sure what kind of color is going to match that. Maybe, I haven't used this on camera in a little while. This is Angel Alessandra from Charlotte Tilbury. And it's in the Kissing formula, so it's nice and glossy. Yeah, I think this is perfect. It's more of a peach, but I think it works. It sort of ties in with the orange underneath the eyes. I think that was a good choice. So this is the finished makeup look. I kind of like it. It's definitely giving me summer vibes. And the biggest discovery of today is definitely the Dallas blush from Benefit. So I hope this video was fun for you. I hope it was inspiring, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.